Welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We spend like a massive amount of time and money installing malware protection on our computers.
Right. Yeah, we're obsessed with digital security.
Exactly. I mean, we get alerts if a website looks shady. Our email just automatically filters out phishing scams.
Yep, they just go straight to spam.
And our phones will literally warn us if an incoming caller is, likely spam.
Yeah.
It's this highly engineered, proactive defense system for our digital lives.
Because we just fully acknowledge that the digital world is, well, full of bad actors trying to exploit vulnerabilities.
Right.
We accept that security protocols are just a necessary, non-negotiable part of navigating the internet today.
Exactly. But then, if you look at our actual real-world human interactions,
Oh, yeah, totally different story.
I mean, the conversations we have at work, the group chats our kids are in, the interpersonal conflicts we deal with every single day, suddenly we are just completely unprotected.
Completely exposed.
Yeah. There is no built-in firewall for emotional manipulation. Like when someone is subtly tearing you down or twisting your words, there's no pop-up window saying, "Warning, toxic behavior detected."
That would be amazing, though.
Right. But instead, it's just you trying to navigate this messy, often incredibly damaging reality of human behavior just entirely on your own.
It's the absolute definition of a vulnerable system. I mean, we leave people entirely to their own devices to process and, defend against complex psychological attacks.
And usually while they're highly emotional.
Exactly. While they are in a state of high emotional distress, it's a recipe for disaster.
Which is why today we're diving into the sources behind a platform called FG Own Your Power. We're going to see if we can actually install a firewall for our emotional lives.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept.
The platform was founded by Jason Langley, who's a registered nurse, and Jennifer Langley, an HR professional. And what really caught my eye in the research isn't just the standard, be kind to one another message.
Right. It goes way beyond that.
It does. They are actually trying to apply forensic AI-level logic to human interactions.
Which is wild when you think about it.
It is. Because whether you are navigating tricky workplace dynamics, trying to protect your kids online, or, you're just deeply interested in human behavior, bullying is not just a playground issue anymore.
No, it's everywhere.
It is everywhere. And I am genuinely curious to see if a tech-driven approach to this actually works.
Well, it permeates every layer of society. And to understand why a massive platform with over 40 different interactive tools is even necessary, we really have to look at the hidden toll of the problem it's trying to solve.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, because what's fascinating here is the sheer economic gravity of the issue. When we talk about bullying, we naturally default to the emotional cost, which is profound, obviously.
Of course.
But the financial impact is staggering. According to the data, bullying costs the United States an estimated $14.3 billion annually.
Wait, 14.3 billion? With a B?
With a B, every single year.
Okay, wait. How does interpersonal conflict rack up a $14 billion bill? I mean, what are we actually paying for there?
It adds up incredibly fast when you look at the systemic breakdown it causes. So of that $14.3 billion, workplace bullying alone accounts for $8.8 billion.
So that's mostly lost productivity.
Exactly. It is money just vanishing into lost productivity, severe absenteeism, and massive employee turnover.
Right, because people just quit.
Yeah, when people are bullied, they take more sick days and eventually they leave. And replacing an employee can cost up to twice their annual salary in recruitment and training.
Oh, wow. That is a huge drain on a company.
It's massive. And then you have schools spending $3.5 billion on interventions.
Like counseling staff.
Counseling staff, security measures, administrative time, and then the healthcare system. That absorbs about $2 billion just in mental health treatments for bullying-related anxiety, depression, and PTSD.
That is unbelievable. I mean, I'm looking at the notes here, and it says the lifetime cost per bullied child ranges from $85,000 to $140,000.
Yeah, per child.
That is factoring in reduced educational attainment, lower lifetime earnings, increased healthcare use over decades. That means toxic behavior isn't just an interpersonal issue.
No, it's not.
It's a massive economic sinkhole.
Right.
It's literally like a tax we are all paying for unchecked cruelty.
That's a really good way to put it.
But I have to ask, is this just, everyone being equally mean to everyone else, or are specific people carrying the burden of this $14 billion problem?
That is a crucial question. And the data paints a very clear, very stark picture. It is absolutely not evenly distributed.
I figured.
Yeah, marginalized groups are disproportionately targeted. If we look at the 2022 data from the National Center for Education Statistics, along with research from GLSN.
That's the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network.
Right. Yes, exactly. An organization focused on LGBTQ plus issues in education. The numbers they found are just alarming. Transgender students face the highest rates, with 59% experiencing bullying.
Wow.
For LGBTQ plus students overall, it's 52%.
So more than half of those students are actively being targeted.
Yes, more than half. And it continues across other demographics where students might have, less systemic power.
Right.
Students with disabilities face bullying at a rate of 33% compared to 19% for their peers without disabilities. Native American students report a 31% victimization rate.
Jeez.
Multiracial students at 27% and Black students at 25%.
That's heavy.
It is. And when we pivot to cyberbullying, it peaks heavily between the ages of 12 and 14, particularly for girls, who face a 38% cyberbullying rate compared to 26% for boys.
So the people who already have to navigate complex systemic challenges are the ones being targeted the most. Probably because bullies perceive them as having less institutional support to fight back.
That's exactly it. They look for the path of least resistance.
And the economic toll is staggering, sure. But if we're paying this massive societal tax, what happens to the individuals who are carrying the actual burden?
Right, the human behavioral consequences.
Yeah, because that's what escalates this from a financial issue to a literal public safety crisis.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we are looking at a documented pipeline. Research from the U.S. Secret Service National Threat Assessment Center and the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit reveals a direct pathway from chronic bullying victimization to violent behavior.
Oh, wow. So it's officially recognized by the FBI.
Oh, yeah. It's what researchers officially call the bullying to violence pipeline.
And the numbers here from the Secret Service are just chilling. It says 71% of school attackers were chronically bullied.
Exactly,
Yeah.
71%. And the FBI found that 78% of attackers had a documented history of being bullied.
Almost 80%.
Yeah. In fact, 87% of attackers felt persecuted or bullied by others, making it literally the most common factor in school shootings.
That is absolutely terrifying.
It is. But this escalation doesn't just happen overnight. The research identifies 4 distinct stages in this pathway to violence, and understanding the mechanism behind each stage is critical.
But how does that mechanism work? I mean, how does someone go from being a target to becoming an actual threat?
Okay, so it starts with stage 1, which is chronic victimization. This is the persistent, unrelenting targeting we just discussed. The target's brain is pushed into a constant state of fight or flight.
Just constant stress.
Right. And when that goes unaddressed, it leads to stage 2, which is social isolation.
Which is incredibly dangerous, because when you are isolated, the bully completely controls the narrative.
Precisely. The target pulls away from peers, they feel entirely alone, and their support systems just completely erode.
They have no one to reality check with.
Exactly. That isolation creates a pressure cooker environment, pushing them into stage 3, a crisis point.
And what does that crisis point look like?
This is a moment of acute psychological distress where they feel completely trapped, powerless, and they believe that the authorities or the community have just fundamentally failed them.
Like nobody is coming to help.
Exactly. And finally, if there is no intervention at that crisis point, it crosses into stage 4, violent ideation.
Because they just see no other way out.
Right. Because they feel entirely stripped of their agency, they begin to view violence as the only logical way to reclaim their power or, exact justice against a system that abandoned them.
So if isolation is the trigger that pushes someone from a victim to a threat, the only way to defuse the bomb is to break that isolation before they hit that crisis point.
That's the key.
But how do we actually do that? Because once someone is socially isolated, they aren't exactly knocking on HR's door or asking a teacher for help.
That is the pivotal challenge. But there is a silver lining in the data here. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, early intervention programs can reduce violent incidents by up to 50%.
Wait, really? 50%?
Yes. You are literally cutting the risk of physical violence in half just by stepping in early and breaking that cycle of isolation.
Which brings us to the tech tools. Because early intervention is the key to preventing both that $14 billion financial ruin and physical violence.
Exactly.
Let's look at how the FG Own Your Power platform actually intervenes using modern technology. And here's where it gets really interesting to me. We are not just talking about handing out pamphlets or setting up a 1-800 hotline. They have built, essentially, digital bodyguards.
That is a great way to put it. The platform uses AI to actively decode and defend against manipulation in real time.
Let's talk about these AI tools because the concept just blew my mind. They have an AI message analyzer, a gaslighting decoder, a red flag detector, and a before-you-send tone analyzer.
It's a whole suite of defense tools.
Yeah, and it's like, just like a spell checker looks for a string of letters that violate a known dictionary rule, this AI looks for semantic patterns, like minimizing language or shifting blame that violate psychological boundaries.
Exactly. But this raises an important question. Why do we even need AI for this?
Right.
Because when you are in the middle of being manipulated, especially by someone using tactics like gaslighting or love bombing, your own internal compass gets completely thrown off.
Your reality is distorted.
Right. So the gaslighting decoder, for example, objectively scans the text for known reality distortion tactics.
So if I get a text from a toxic boss,
Yeah, say your toxic boss texts you. We talked about this yesterday. You must be misremembering. The AI flags the semantic pattern.
oh wow,
It identifies the absolute statement combined with cognitive invalidation and highlights it for the user. It takes the messy emotion out of it and says, look, this specific phrasing is a classic manipulation pattern designed to make you doubt your memory.
that is incredible.
It provides an objective anchor when the user's reality is being intentionally destabilized.
Okay, but wait. AI isn't perfect. I can imagine a scenario where I send a deeply sarcastic text to a close friend, like an inside joke, and this before you send analyzer flags me as a toxic manipulator.
Yeah, totally possible.
How does the system account for context? I mean, I don't want a robot policing my jokes.
That is a very fair pushback. The AI isn't designed to automatically censor you or delete your messages. It functions as an awareness tool, not an absolute judge.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
Right. It flags patterns based on linguistic markers of hostility, coercion, or invalidation. The user still has total agency. If it flags your sarcastic joke, you can just dismiss it.
You just ignore it.
Yeah. But if you are drafting a highly emotional email to your HR department or responding to a hostile ex-partner, that pause, that moment where the AI says, hey, this reads as highly aggressive, do you want to rephrase?
Yeah.
That can save you from escalating a conflict that you are trying to de-escalate.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a mirror, not a filter.
Exactly.
It forces a moment of mindfulness. And that connects perfectly to their larger framework. They have structured the whole training program around what they call the 7 pillars of empowerment.
Yes, the philosophy here isn't just to passively shield the user, but to actively transform them from a target into an empowered individual.
Okay, so what are the pillars?
The 7 pillars are, stand up, set boundaries, reclaim your voice, build inner strength, respond with strength, heal and rebuild, and protect and advocate. They act as a comprehensive psychological curriculum.
And it is heavily research-backed. Like in the stand-up pillar, they rely on the Dear Man framework. For anyone not familiar with therapy jargon, that comes from dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT.
Yep, DBT is a very established psychological framework.
Right. It's an acronym that gives you a literal step-by-step script for assertive communication.
Let's break that acronym down, actually, because it is incredibly effective.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the D stands for describe the facts of the situation objectively.
Okay. And E is express.
Right. E is express your feelings using I statements. Then A is assert what you need clearly.
Asserting. Got it. What's R?
R is reinforce the benefits of getting what you need. Then we move to the MAN part. M is stay mindful and focused on your goal.
Don't get distracted by their defensiveness.
Exactly. A is appear confident in your posture and tone. And N is negotiate and be willing to compromise.
It essentially gives you a psychological blueprint for how to confront behavior. So instead of just yelling, you are always ignoring me in meetings, you would say, during the last 3 meetings, my proposals were skipped over.
That is describing.
Right. And then, I feel undervalued when that happens. That is expressing.
Exactly.
I need 5 minutes on tomorrow's agenda to present my data. Asserting. You aren't just telling someone to, be brave. You are giving them a formula to confront the issue without adding fuel to the fire.
Exactly. It is about responding rather than reacting. And part of responding effectively in the professional world is having undeniable proof.
Yes. Because if you are going to HR or if you're dealing with a legal or custody situation, you cannot just say, they make me feel bad.
No, that won't hold up anywhere.
Right. You need documentation. The platform emphasizes that defending yourself isn't just about managing your feelings, it's about establishing facts. And this is where tools like the evidence vault come into play.
They're crucial. The Evidence Vault allows users to securely store and timestamp text messages, emails, and notes, and then export them as a professional PDF.
That is so smart.
They also have an incident logger and a toxic pattern timeline. By plotting these incidents on a visual timeline, it completely removes the he said, she said ambiguity.
It's hard to argue with a time-stamped timeline.
Right. It allows users to build unassailable cases. If you are using their workplace investigation checklist or the complaint strengthener tool, you are essentially walking into an HR office with a legally and professionally sound dossier.
It shifts the burden of proof off of the emotional state of the victim and onto the documented behavior of the aggressor.
It's a total power shift.
So we have these incredible tech tools empowering the person being targeted. But what if you aren't the target?
Ah, the bystander.
Right? What if you are just a witness? Because the platform makes a very compelling case that the surrounding community is actually the ultimate defense mechanism.
This brings us to what might be the most powerful statistic in the entire deep dive. Research shows that 57% of bullying stops within 10 seconds when a bystander intervenes.
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
The insight here isn't just the 10 seconds, though. It's the realization that bullies rely entirely on the silent compliance of the room.
They assume no one will challenge them.
Exactly. They thrive on it. The moment you introduce friction, the moment you break that silence, the social dynamic just shatters.
But what does this all mean for you, the listener? I mean, how do you actually become that upstander without putting a target on your own back?
Because I think a lot of people freeze up.
Yeah. They see something happening, they know it is wrong, but they just don't know what to say in the moment. That freeze response is completely natural, which is why FG Own Your Power built the Interactive Bystander Training Sim.
A simulator for conversations.
Yeah, it's based on the famous research by Latane and Darley. Back in the 1970s, these two social psychologists studied the bystander effect, the phenomenon where people are less likely to help a victim when other people are present.
Everyone just assumes someone else will do it.
Exactly. To counter that, the platform breaks intervention down into the 5D framework: direct, distract, delegate, delay, and document.
It functions like a flight simulator for social conflict. You don't want to figure out how to fly the plane while the engines are failing.
Exactly. That's the worst time to learn.
In the simulator, you practice identifying the best strategy for real-world situations before you are actually in one.
Precisely. If you see someone being harassed at the office, a direct approach might be calmly saying, hey, that language isn't appropriate. But if that feels physically or professionally unsafe, you can distract.
You know, I have definitely used distract before. I once accidentally dropped a massive stack of folders in a meeting just to stop a manager who was ruthlessly berating a junior designer.
No way, really?
Yeah, it made a huge noise. Everyone looked at me. I looked incredibly clumsy, but it completely broke the tension and stopped the tirade. It worked.
That is a perfect example. You changed the dynamic without directly confronting the aggressor.
Exactly.
You can also delegate by discreetly grabbing a manager or security. You can delay by checking in with the target privately afterward to offer support. And you can document what you saw for their evidence vault.
The simulator gives you tiered feedback, right?
Yeah.
Like best, good, risky.
Yeah, so you can develop a muscle memory to act within that critical 10-second window.
Ah.
They even have something called the Conflict Animal Simulator.
Oh, I was looking at that. It helps you identify your natural conflict style.
Yeah.
Are you a turtle who hides in their shell and avoids the issue?
Or are you a bear who attacks aggressively?
Right. Once you know your baseline instinct, the platform teaches you how to pivot into a more productive response.
Exactly. It builds self-awareness. But what happens after the conflict is over? Because stopping the bullying is step one, but the emotional damage doesn't just evaporate.
The isolation and the anxiety really linger.
That is where the holistic nature of this platform really shines. They recognize that surviving toxicity requires intentional recovery. They have a whole suite of healing and wellness tools.
Yeah, in the Heal and Rebuild pillar, they offer 30-day recovery roadmaps specifically tailored for people healing from narcissistic abuse or gaslighting.
Is very specific.
And they have a daily mood check-in tracker to monitor your emotional baseline, guided breathing exercises to lower that fight or flight response, and something called the Letter I'll Never Send.
Oh, I love that concept.
It's a fantastic therapeutic exercise for getting your anger out without creating real-world fallout.
And they also provide faith-based recovery resources, acknowledging that for many survivors, spiritual strength is a vital part of rebuilding their emotional armor.
Like what kind of resources?
They offer curated Bible verses for courage, guided prayers, and a community prayer wall. Whether a user leans into clinical tools like the DBT frameworks or finds comfort in community prayer, the goal is exactly the same: restoring the individual's sense of self-worth, agency, and safety.
It really covers every angle, from the initial tech defense to the long-term emotional recovery.
Okay, let's summarize the journey we have been on today.
We've covered a lot.
We really have. We started by looking at the terrifying scale of the problem. $14.3 billion drained from the economy every year, with marginalized groups carrying the heaviest burden. We traced the dark psychological path of how unaddressed bullying isolates victims and acts as a direct pipeline to physical violence.
We also saw the solution. We explored how early intervention can cut that risk of violence in half.
Which is huge.
It is.
Yeah.
We looked at how AI-driven tools like the gaslighting decoder and the evidence vault are flipping the script to empower targets, moving them from defenseless to documented. And we learned that as bystanders, we have immense immediate power. Bullies rely on our silence. And 57% of bullying stops within 10 seconds if we just introduce a little friction.
Just 10 seconds.
Frameworks like the 5Ds give us the practical tools to do exactly that, even if it just means dropping a stack of folders. So whether you use these tools to protect your own peace, to help your child navigate a cyberbullying situation, or to step up as an ally in your workplace, you now know that action is possible. You do not have to navigate the murky waters of human manipulation completely blind.
It leaves us with a final thought to ponder, really. If artificial intelligence can now be trained to instantly decode gaslighting, spot fake apologies, and detect manipulation in our private texts, well, how long will it be before these toxicity filters are built directly into our smartphones by default, right alongside our spam callers and our phishing filters? And if they are, how might that fundamentally change the way human beings speak to one another?
Imagine that. We might finally get that built-in firewall for our emotional lives, forcing us to actually think before we type. The ultimate software upgrade might just be the one that protects our humanity. Something to think about. Until next time, stay curious.